Yuba-Sutter.live's local government live streams are presented by Plumas Lake Self-Storage in Plumas Lake, where lifelong local residents are helping other residents keep things safe, providing indoor storage units, outdoor RV and vehicle parking, moving supplies, and Penske truck rentals. Details at plumaslakeselfstorage.com.
Which stands one nation under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, are there any changes to the agenda?
No changes to the agenda, Mayor.
Cavoli present. Thank you. Mr. City Attorney, anything to report on closed session?
No, Mr. Mayor, there is no reportable action.
Okay. Now time for me to get busy with a stack of proclamations that I'm reading. Yuba College, where are you? Please come forward. Oh, damn, my glasses just broke. Jim, would you reach in the Sure. Nowhere near it. How you doing? I'm Chris Brown. I am a proud Yuba College alum. And before that, I would go to Yuba College football games when the Yuba College had the Highland Band. Scottish band, kilts, bagpipes, the works. It was absolutely grand. A lot of great memories of Yuba College. Now, these don't work for beans. Anyhow, this is a proclamation. Yuba Community College men's basketball 2023 and 24. Whereas, again, the men's basketball team achieved a season record of 28-2, 16-0 in league, and whereas the men's basketball team won the Bay Valley Conference for the 16th time in 22 years for Coach Cornelius's career, sir. And whereas the team won the Kris Kringle tournament in dramatic fashion, and Coach Cornelius celebrated his 500th career win at that tournament. 500. And whereas the team were runner-ups in the Grossmount tournament, losing by 2 points in a very close and dramatic game. I read the story in the paper. And whereas the team finished the regular season with a 20-game win streak and currently holds a 36-game win streak in the Bay Valley Conference play over 2 seasons, and whereas the team winning 3 rounds of playoff games made it all the way to the state semifinals before ultimately losing 1 game shy of the state final. And whereas head coach Doug Cornelius earned Coach of the Year in the BVC, sir. And whereas, okay, I'm going to mispronounce some of these names, I'm afraid. Damari Lewis Cooper, how'd I do on that? Okay, was named MVP. Devon Malcolm, Caden Flowers, Major Sullivan received first team all BVC honors. Damari Lewis Cooper received all defensive team honors, and Devon Manow, beg your pardon? Malcolm. Oh, it's mispronounced, misspelled here. I apologize for that. Okay, Devon Manui. Got it right. Thank you. I couldn't see Manui to Malcolm. Okay, Manui was named to the all-defensive team. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Mayor Chris Branscombe, and the Marysville City Council of the City of Marysville recognize the 2023-2024 men's basketball team on yet another historic season. The commitment and dedication from student athletes led to a successful and enjoyable season. I'm very proud to sign this. One of my best friends is a frequent attendee at your games. Roger Manuel, I don't know if you've ever met him, there all the time and talks about you all the time. So, I'll grab the microphone for you. Yeah, come on. Talk it up. This is a big field. Turn around. Let's get your picture taken. Sir.
Well, I wasn't expecting to speak, but thank you very much for doing this. This is it's an honor and a pleasure. Obviously, we have had in this little small town, this little small community, one of the most successful basketball programs in the state over the last 24 years, and a lot of it has to do with the support. Obviously, I mean, see, just for this, our president, our vice president, our chancellor, director all showed up. That's, I mean, almost unheard of for a community college to have that kind of support. And the community support in this area is incredible. I mean, if you come to games, we get huge crowds, probably some of the biggest in all of California Community College. So it's pretty awesome that the city of Marysville supports us like they do.
So you're known around the league.
A little bit. A little bit.
Would you like to say anything, sir?
I'm all right.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you very
Well
much.
done. Well done, coach.
Appreciate it.
Really nice meeting you. Sir.
Thank you.
Okay, let's get the Yuba team up here and give your camera to somebody so you can take a picture. There we go. Sir, get in there. I'll get on the perimeter. Ah, that was fun. Okay. May's a big deal for proclamations, and they're all very worthy. The next proclamation, it is National Small Business Week in the city of Marysville. Who is here representing small business? Please come forward and tell us who you are.
Hi, I'm Janelle Willis. I'm the Executive Director of the Yuba-Sutter Chamber of Commerce.
Awesome. Anybody else involved in small business in Marysville? Well, the proclamation reads as follows. Whereas America's progress has been driven by pioneers who think big, take risks, and work hard. And I think small business accounts for what, 50% of all the employment, more than 50% of all the employment in the United States. And whereas from the storefront shops that anchor Main Street to the high-tech startups that keep America on the cutting edge, small businesses are the backbone of our economy and the cornerstone of our nation's promise. Whereas small business owners and Main Street businesses have energy and a passion for what they do. And whereas when we support small business, jobs are created and local communities preserve their unique culture. And whereas, because the country's 30 million small businesses create, it's even more, create nearly 2 out of every 3 jobs in our economy. We resolve ourselves to create jobs and spur economic growth in America without discussing ways to support our entrepreneurs. And whereas it is the collaborative mission of the city, working in partnership with the Yuba-Sutter Chamber of Commerce and other organizations to help our businesses grow and thrive. And whereas the city of Marysville appreciates the support provided to our small businesses by the Yuba-Sutter Chamber of Commerce and other organizations, and whereas the President of the United States has proclaimed National Small Business Week every year since 1963 to highlight the programs and services available to entrepreneurs through the U.S. Small Business Administration and other government agencies. And whereas the city of Marysville supports and joins in this national effort to help America's small businesses do what they do best, grow their business, create jobs, and ensure that our communities remain as vibrant tomorrow as they are today. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I join with my fellow members of the City Council in proclaiming April 28th to May 4th, we just missed it, as National Small Business Week. I apologize for that, in the city of Marysville. And we've had some really great success lately with new businesses opening in Marysville, the bakery, and then the clothing store on 4th Street. And I'm missing another, and at the corner of 4th and D, the southeast corner, I forget the name of her shop. No. Thank you. No, it's moving. I wish Dan Flores was here. He's been big in this. Would you like to say something? Please.
I'm just honored because you guys all do shop local, and that's how these guys stay in business. And my team and I, we literally eat, breathe our local businesses, and that's what we're all about. So we really appreciate this, so we can stand in for them.
Did you want to get a photo? Well, the reason these glasses were in my drawers, they don't work for beans. I'm really struggling there. Okay, here we go. I'm a veteran, and it is declaring the month of May 2024 as National Military Appreciation Month in the city of Marysville. And I see a man who's probably involved in that. Are you part of this? This man's a real veteran.
I'm Don Schrader.
Tell us what your service was.
I was in the Army early in the Vietnam War.
Did you go back for a second tour?
No.
You did? Smart. Don's a real soldier. He won't brag on himself, but he's the real deal. Whereas the freedom and security the citizens of the United States enjoy today are the direct result of those who gave their lives in defense of our country and because of the continued vigilance given by the United States Armed Forces over the history of our great nation. And whereas the sacrifices made by the members of the United States Armed Forces and their families have preserved the liberties that have enriched this nation, making it unique in the world community. And whereas in 1999, the United States Congress chose the month of May as National Military Appreciation Month because we celebrate several other significant observances in May, such as commemoration of victory in Europe, VE Day, Military Spouse Appreciation Day, Loyalty Day, Armed Forces Day and Week, National Day of Prayer, and Memorial Day. And whereas this observance is meant to raise the awareness and encourage celebration and appreciation of those who serve and those who have served in the armed forces. It is also a time for all Americans to remember that those who have given their lives in defense of freedom. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I join with my fellow members of the Marysville City Council in declaring the month of May 2024 as National Military Appreciation Month in the city of Marysville. We ask that our community join us to honor and thank the men and women of all of our armed services who have served and are now serving our country. Thank you. Please, you must please say something.
I'll accept this on behalf of the veterans in Yuba County, and it's I greatly appreciate it.
Don, you're the best.
Thank you.
Here, would you like to get a picture? I was getting emotional at the end of that one. Do we have nurses in the room? Oh, goody gumdrops. No. I'm Chris Branson. I've got a cardiologist on my team now. Y'all come in handy. Thank you for being here. Oh, you bet. I've said this before when we've honored nurses. I believe all nurses are angels. Absolutely. Declaring the week of May 6th to 12th, and we're in that one, as National Nurses Week in the city of Marysville. Whereas the nearly 3.1 million nurses in the United States comprise our nation's largest healthcare profession. And whereas the depth and breadth of the nursing profession meets the different and emerging healthcare needs of the American population in a wide range of settings. And whereas professional nursing has been demonstrated to be an indispensable component in the safety and quality of care of our patients, of all patients. And whereas greater numbers of qualified nurses will be needed in the future to meet the increasingly complex needs of healthcare consumers in our community. And whereas the cost-effective, safe, and quality healthcare services provided by nurses will be an even more important component of the U.S. healthcare delivery system in the future. And whereas the American Nurses Association has declared the week of May 6 to 12, 2024 as National Nurses Week. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Mayor Chris Branscombe, join with my colleagues on the Marysville City Council in proclaiming May 6 to 12, 2024 as National Nurses Week in the city of Marysville. The City Council asks all of our residents to join us and honor the many nurses who care for all of us, not only during National Nurses Week, but at every opportunity throughout the year. You must have something you'd like to share.
Well, on behalf of all the nurses at Adventist Health and Rideout, in our home health and hospice, in our skilled nursing facilities, and our cancer center, we thank you for the recognition. It's an honor to serve each of you and to take care of our community.
How many nurses do you have?
Oh, between all of our campuses, we probably have about 600 nurses. Yeah.
Sir, would you like to share your thoughts?
To voice our appreciation for recognition on behalf of all the nurses that very much like the public servants work 24 hours a day to keep the community safe. Thank you.
Okay, everybody applaud. These guys might have. See all those uniforms in the back? Come on up here. Come on up here. Oh, boy. We have such a great police force. I was recently at a coffee with a cop gathering in Marysville and was able to meet with some of these fine people. And again, we're so lucky to have them working for us, protecting us and stepping up as they do. Oh, well, come on. Gotta get the volunteers and the dispatchers.
It's a team effort.
Amen. I'm proud to be standing here with you. Here's a proclamation declaring the week of May 12th to 18th, 2024 as National Police Week in the city of Marysville. Whereas in 1962, President John F. Kennedy proclaimed May 15th as National Peace Officers Day and the calendar week in which May 15th falls as National Police Week. And whereas the members of the Police Department of the City of Marysville play an important, I'd say essential, role in preserving the rights and freedoms of the citizens of our community. And whereas it is important that all citizens know and understand the sacrifice, duties, and responsibilities of their police department, and that members of our department, their duty to serve the people is safeguarding life and property, protecting them against violence or disorder, and protecting the innocent against deception, and the weak against oppression and intimidation. And whereas the city of Marysville urges citizens to join in commemorating law enforcement officers, past and present, who by their faithful and loyal devotion to their communities have established for themselves the rights and security and appreciation and love, I added that, of all citizens. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Mayor Chris Branscombe, and our entire city council do hereby proclaim May 12th through May 18th, 2024 as National Police Week in the city of Marysville. I'm so proud to sign this on behalf of the city. Where's the spokesman? I've already said what I said. Chief?
Oh.
I'll give it to you later.
You're fine. No, on behalf of the men and women of the Marysville Police Department, we want to just thank the community, thank the supportive city council, our supportive city manager. We couldn't do it. It's just a huge team effort. I work with the best group each and every day, and I tell them that each and every day. And if I don't, I make sure that I do and chase them down. But day in and day out, they're just providing just a top-notch service to the community. So we greatly appreciate it. And when you mentioned Peace Officer Memorial Day on the 15th, if you've never been, I invite you guys all to the Peace Officer Memorial that we host at Yuba City Police Department, where every agency is there, and we honor the local fallen heroes that have died in the line of duty in the Yuba-Sutter community, and the city of Marysville has the most. So therefore, we will all be there to honor them and lay a rose and say a prayer for them that day. So if you haven't seen it, it's pretty awesome, and we invite everybody there. But to everybody here, love you guys. Keep up the great work. Super amazing group for the group that's here, the group that's out on patrol now, the group that's home resting. Just super excited. We added Tyler Vital Tolu and Officer Hoskins this week. They graduated the academy last Thursday. You'll be seeing more of them. We've got a couple more coming. So super excited. So great group. Just thank you for the support.
Invite the other members of the council if you'd like to come down and join in the photo. I don't want to hug everybody.
Like in front of the button, sit in front of it or go back?
Just a minute. And lit everything up and was off to do what she's supposed to do. Okay. Vincenzo, where's your team? You have... Public Works people, please. These are the guys that make the trains run on time. Awesome. Awesome. Okay. This is as important as everything else because if they make everything work, and they're doing their damnedest on struggling as we're struggling with the lake, and we're making some progress there, and working on some trapping, calming things that some people don't appreciate very well, but I tell them it's temporary. But again, we are always so appreciative of this group. And it's a proclamation declaring the week of May 15th to 21st, 2024, as National Public Works Appreciation Week in the city of Marysville. Whereas public works professionals focus on infrastructure, facilities, emergency management, they're on the front lines, and services that are of vital importance to sustainable and resilient communities, and the public health, high quality of life, and well-being of the people of the city of Marysville. And whereas these infrastructures, facilities, and services could not be provided without the dedicated efforts of public works professionals who are federally mandated first responders. And the engineers, managers, and employees at all levels of government and the private sector who are responsible for rebuilding, improving, and protecting our nation's transportation, water supply, water treatment, and solid waste systems, public buildings, and other structures and facilities essential for our citizens. And whereas it is in the public interest for the citizens, civic leaders, and children in the city of Marysville to gain knowledge and maintain ongoing interest and understanding of the importance of public works, first responders, and public works programs in their respective communities. And whereas the year 2024 marks the 64th annual National Public Works Week, sponsored by the American Public Works Association. Now, therefore, I, Mayor Chris Branscombe, and our entire City Council of the City of Marysville do hereby designate May 15th to 21st, 2024 as National Public Works Week. I urge all citizens to join with representatives of the American Public Works Association and government agencies in activities, events, and ceremonies designed to pay tribute to our public works professionals, engineers, managers, and employees, and to recognize the substantial contributions they make to protecting our national public health, safety, and quality of life. And when they talk about ceremonies, I think, Mr. Shedd, you have something planned? He's working it.
I have something planned. I can't share it right now.
There you go. No, we do. And Mr. Shedd, our city manager, takes a keen interest in public works. He's very involved. I'm real proud to have signed this. And Vincenzo and maybe some of your colleagues, whoever wants to say something, please. You guys are important, and I'm so happy to honor you.
Sure. Anybody want to say anything? I want to say something.
Please.
Thank you.
Please, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, Mr. Mayor had read great things about what Public Works does, but I want the community and everybody here to know our Public Works team personally. So let me introduce their names and where they work. So from your left to right, this is Ken. He works in our parks. Brandon, you guys can wave. He works in our street. Rick, he works in our parks division. And Alan, he works in our streets division. Jason, he's our public works manager. Juan, he works in our streets division. And Mike, he works in our sewer division. And Sean, he works in our parks division. So at least now you have a face and a name to the people that keep the city running and operating our infrastructure. And I'm Vincenzo, I'm the public works director.
Might I say something? I wanted to give a special congratulations for our newly certified sewer worker. He has passed his certification test and is now officially a wastewater treatment operator 1. Is that correct? 2, I'm sorry. Even better. So congratulations.
And aren't we working on a certification on the team for dealing with matters on the lake?
Yes,
water
we
quality
are.
and what have you?
Definitely are.
It's a broad spectrum of activities and responsibilities these folks take on, and ever so appreciated. Up to the council now. Yeah. That was just. Okay. There we go. Fun. Every bit of it was fun. Okay. I barely read with these things. Okay. We now move to the community and consent. Oh, I'm so sorry. If we'd had a folder, I wouldn't have forgotten. Okay. We now move to Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Committee presentation. Mr. Ben Deal, and that's his bicycle in back.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I feel like I got set up with all those proclamations in front of me.
Well, no, hold on.
It was great. Those are great proclamations. So, thank you. Appreciate being able to chance to speak. I also want to thank Vincenzo because he's been coordinating with me and talking a lot with me. How's that? That better? Okay. Anyways, thank you for allowing me to present. There's a little presentation. I'll make it short and sweet. But it's basically about a bike ped advisory committee. My name is Ben Deal. I'm a lifelong resident here. I ride around town. I walk around town. So I'm pretty familiar. I've lived in about 6 different locations, so I'm pretty familiar with the streets and stuff like that. So another item that I'm just going to mention that is Marysville is actually laid out really good for bike and peds. You know, it has kind of a urban feel in this side of town, then the west side of town is more suburban, but there's less traffic. So it's actually, we have a pretty prime opportunity here to make it a great place. So, so what is a bike ped advisory committee? You know, here's a definition, basically providing guidance to elected officials, but to me, it's really communication between the public and the government and elected officials and staff. So it provides a chance for us to kind of discuss upcoming projects, any kind of issues that may be happening in town. And it's kind of staff augmentation in a way, because we actually will do some of the footwork and research stuff and then bring it back to whoever a staff member may be that could lead this. So, yeah, so one of the things that I wanted to bring up was, you know, the economic benefits, the health benefits, but really to me, the primary goal is safety. You know, we've had a number of folks in town. I don't like showing it, but there's people that have been killed in town for various reasons on their either walking or biking. And it's kind of shocking actually when you look at the numbers of folks that are no longer with us because of that. And that's all within city limits. And this is just some of them that I've researched and you've heard about. So I'm sure there's more that I haven't added to the list because I don't have a repository, but it's pretty sad that, you know, we have these things happening and some majority of them are on Caltrans right away, which is still within the city limits. So I think, you know, as a city, we should be able to push Caltrans as much as we can to make improvements in these areas. So part of the 2016 Bike Ped Master Plan, I was involved with that as a group called Yuba Area Bike Advocates, and it was adopted here in 2016. And these are 2 maps that basically show locations of accidents and incidents. The one on the left is the pedestrians. The one on the right is bikes. So that's about 8 years old, maybe 9 years old. But there's been numerous incidents since then. So a bike ped advocacy group could help kind of give you insight to what's going on in those locations. So we ride there, we walk there, we see these things. We see people doing things that shouldn't be doing on bikes and should be doing. So, you know, it's kind of like a 3 E's. You can engineer out safety solutions. You can educate people on to ride and walk safety, and even driving suggestions, and also enforcement if there's issues happening in a certain area. Maybe people are always running red lights or what have it. So, but the advocacy group could help kind of bring these things together and be a committee for you guys to say, or even if you have a new project coming up, hey, can you look at this street project we're going to build? What would you guys see as a safe way to go about it? So, and then it gives the public an opportunity, you know, instead of just talking amongst our group, we want to be able to share our information and ideas with the staff or any street works projects. So that would be helpful. And then just the committee responsibilities, like I mentioned, we would review plans. We could review any upcoming projects. We could suggest projects either based out of the previous bike ped plan or upcoming development that we have coming. And then I'll just wrap it up real fast here. But what you guys could do is ask staff, hey, can you go look at what ordinances, regulations, or any kind of bylaws that would take to get this off the ground? And then also bring it back to the council for a vote. And then you could assign committee members, maybe 5 people in town that walk or ride, and that we could meet kind of like a levy commission. So, and that's basically what I have for you guys.
I'm glad you're here. I'm a member of SACOG's Board of Directors, and I'm on the Transportation Committee there. And Vincenzo Grasso, our Public Works Director, attends most of those meetings with me. And in fact, he spotted an opportunity during one of the meetings to capture the grant that we're exercising right now on 14th Street. Isn't that the one? Yes. And it's temporary. A lot of people don't like not being able to turn left on D. And it's when I get complaints, and I've heard plenty of them, it's only temporary. We're testing things. We want to see, we're trying to make the entire community much safer. And again, I live on D Street, and we didn't do this because I live on D Street. It just was an opportunity. We get a lot of cut-through traffic. Right across the street from me is a childcare facility. And moms and dads are unloading their children from their cars, and cars will zip by at 50 miles an hour. And God help us, they haven't been looking at their cell phone and hit anybody yet. But multimodal is what I think the term that's used at SACOG. We're trying to promote multimodal people, making Marysville a more attractive and safer city to walk, bicycles, what have you. And part of that, I think that's part of the D Street project too, isn't it? Making it more pedestrian friendly, bicycle friendly, and what have you. So the city's engaged on this. It is a topic that is of keen interest at SACOG and on the Transportation Committee, and hopefully Marysville will pick up enough grants, and we've got the vision, and we've had public hearings and public input and town halls on these things. It's a very important topic. I'm glad you're here, sir.
Yeah, well, another thing with the grants is if you have a bike committee or ped committee, you can put it on the grant application. Actually, sometimes you get bonus points or chance of winning grants. So it's something to consider, bringing more funds to the city.
And Vincenzo is very keen on this, and I see our Green Zone representative is nodding his head too. It's good for health. Awesome.
Yeah, and I want to thank too some of the folks out here are bike riders. They wanted to see pedestrians. So I don't know if you guys want
Where's the bike riders? There we go. Awesome. Awesome. Any other comments or questions? Friends? Thanks, man.
All right. Thank you.
I just remembered I have a backup pair of glasses because the other pair is not working. Now we can move on. Community and consent calendar. Okay. Individuals wishing to address the council concerning consent calendar items or on matters not already on the agenda are invited to make oral comments of up to 3 minutes. If you'd like to comment and you're attending the meeting in person, pick up a speaker's card from our city clerk. And when called upon, you can go to the podium and comment. If you're participating via Zoom, raise your hand via Zoom and you'll be recognized in order. Whether here in person or on Zoom, when called upon, please give your name clearly for audio recording. And you're requested to address your comments to the council and not to the audience. On any item not appearing on the posted agenda. And if you have anything you'd like to share with the council in writing, please mail it to City Clerk, 526 East Street, Marysville, 95901. Are we negotiating some public comment? Okay. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mayor. Our first speaker will actually be Tom, and it'll be on appreciation.
Good to see you, neighbor.
You as well, neighbor. I just wanted to express my appreciation to the council for what it's attempting to do at the corner of 14th and D Street. It's a long time coming and we really appreciate it. There is some vandalism. We know the effort's really good. It's positive, and we've just been delighted with the lack of truck traffic, the lack of speeders. And I told Vincenzo my wife and I play music around the town, and we have had a front porch concert in the back. I just wanted to offer that up if anybody would be interested in maybe closing down 13th Street, or at least making it safe for us to do some music, invite our friends, and encourage bike riding, encourage walking, encourage the close access to Ellis Lake, all those things that could be done by pedestrians. So if the city would be interested in our efforts to entertain and spread the word, we'd be very very happy to do that. So again, thank you very much for your efforts. It's really
We have a
appreciated.
city management that's working real hard on this. Vincenzo and his team and Mr. Shad, management is not just the councils behind all this. It's the whole team.
Well, it's highly appreciated. It's just wonderful to have some silence and less truck traffic. And so thank you, Vincenzo, and everyone on the council.
Thank you, Tom. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mayor. Our next speaker will be Ricky Samayoa.
I mean to cut in line.
Mr. Mayor,
How are you?
good to see you.
Mayor, council members, I'm here in support of Ben's presentation for the council to really encourage you to actually take a look at the opportunity of having public input into our walkability issues, our safety among bike riders. And I see it every day. I live across the street from the elementary school, Kynock and McKinney, and the high school. There's a lot of children walking through our streets in East Marysville, and we know some of those streets are very wide, and they tend to. A lot of the drivers tend to go faster. You think of Kovala, you think of Sampson, you think of those streets that tend to have kids that cross by them, but don't have. There's a real risk of them actually coming in contact with the vehicle. So I think having a committee made out of public members that live in those neighborhoods can provide you some input would be very beneficial. Two, I really do support the things that you guys are doing on 14th Street and those calming elements you guys are putting together. I think they're important, again, to minimize the risks for bikers and pedestrians. I do, as you're looking at numbers and traffic numbers and you're looking at as assessing these elements, consider a walkway on C Street over there by the ballpark. I think that's probably an important one, especially if we're promoting more attendance at the ball game or other events happening out there. It really, the neighborhood folks would be a lot safer if there were some crosswalk across on C Street over there by the ballpark. And also consider turning left for cars is important onto D Street, but also consider maybe allowing bikes to be able to turn easier into D Street, because right now you would have to actually go around and makes it pretty dangerous to actually turn left in there because you have to kind of go around those cones. So just as you're looking at assessing your the things that you're putting in place, consider those things as input. Thank you very much.
Those very items are on our mind. Absolutely.
Through the chair.
Sir.
So I realized I probably should have brought this up when Mr. Deal was giving his presentation.
It's okay. Well, this is a continuation. You
Thank
could
you.
discuss that now.
So I would like to see if we can work further with Mr. Deal to be able to look into this BPAC and get it started with the city.
It's hugely, I agree, it's hugely important, Councilman Hudson. And the big challenge is all the traffic, particularly cutting through the neighborhoods, and we need to solve that to make it safer and obviously we need a crosswalk there crossing it on C and the sidewalk and what have you. All of that is required. I think those things were brought up in that public forum we had on the top. Sir.
Yeah, I think Tom said.
This is a continuation of
Yes,
Deal's
continue.
talk.
Tom, if you would have had a public committee or commission on bike and ped, I think that things on 14th Street probably would have happened a lot quicker. So I think just having a body that allows that input back and forth with the council and staff would be very beneficial because we know that things take a long time. And I know Tom has been really talking a lot about D Street and the traffic that cuts through there and how dangerous it is. Finally, we got something that could be done, but it took them years and years to get it done. I think a committee made out of public where you can, whether it's a monthly or quarterly meeting, and you can get some feedback would be greatly beneficial.
So
Thank you, sir.
I have a question. If we were to make a committee, this is more staff hours, correct?
Yes, it would be. There would be some staff hours. There, as with anything, there's advantages and disadvantages to doing so, but I think it would be appropriate for you guys to direct staff to move forward with developing a draft plan for a bike ped committee, if that's the will of the council.
I think that would be prudent and that would be my.
I'm saying the
request this
staff
time.
guy right here might be, might be right, just the right guy for it. I know he's engaged on it.
Thank you, Ben, for doing that. Sorry, I missed it earlier. Thank you, Mayor.
Sure. Thank you, Mayor. Madam Clerk.
Our next speaker will be Kim McMillan, who is attending online.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
My name is Kim McMillan and I'm a resident of Marysville. I live on one of the pass-through streets. I want to thank the city and the Blue Zone Project for the work being done to support traffic calming measures on the pass-through streets. My husband and I both work from home and are home regularly. I take regular walks during the day, but I have to do so with heightened awareness of the cars passing through. Daily, I see cars blow through the stop signs at 12th and G. Cars do not stop for me to cross at any of the pass-through streets, even regularly at the blinking crosswalk at 11th and E near the Yuba County Office of Education and charter school buildings. I couldn't imagine trying to walk with children down these streets. My teenage daughter used to ride the bus home from school, and I would have to leave work to go pick her up from the bus stop near the Appeal Democrat because she felt unsafe walking home from the bus stop. When we are relaxing in the evening, we cannot do so without constantly hearing trucks, trailers, and cars banging and clanging and racing down the street, disturbing our peace. I really hope that this pilot project leads to a more permanent solution, like speed bumps or raised crosswalks, so that residents on the west side of Marysville can feel comfortable in their homes and safe taking walks and riding their bikes, especially with their children. Thank you.
Thank you, Kim. Thank you very much. Madam Clerk.
Our next speaker will be Kelly Richcreek.
Welcome, Kelly.
I was just going to speak on what we heard tonight for the presentation that Ben Deal did, that, and from listening to the council and Jim Shad and Vincenzo, it was very encouraging to hear that this is a priority for the city about making it more walkable. I've lived here many years, and that's one of our attributes, that we're a small town and it's easy to walk and bike. I walk a lot. Having a committee such as this would really move those goals closer. I think it would really be more effective on your decision making, would be more logical because you'd be getting input from the people that are actually out there doing it. I would love to see something like that. I think it would really do wonders for our city to have something like that, where you have basically all those people out given input in one place, and them, helping with your goals on making it more walkable and bikeable. I have to be honest that I don't bike as much as I used to because I fear my safety right now. There's not that many places, but there's things that we can do to improve on that, and simple things. So, and that's all what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you. And I will have some additional comments on this in my comments at the end of the meeting. Thank you.
Our final speaker, Mayor, will be Eric Paredes.
Welcome, Eric. Green Zone.
Hello, everyone. Well, I'm going to try to squeeze everything in just, the short amount of time that I have. So first, just to start off, yes, very supportive of Ben Deal. I actually came here today. One of the reasons was to support Ben. Ben Deal is actually part of our Blue Zones Built Environment Committee. So yes, very supportive. Also just want to extend our support to the city as you hopefully roll this out soon. Blue Zones is always here to support, the city and these efforts. But I think I want to really talk about 14th Street. As you know, Blue Zones is all about creating environments that encourage walking and biking. But at the end of the day, we can't encourage people to walk and bike unless people feel safe. So Vincenzo told me about this grant opportunity, the pilot project. And what I said to Vincenzo was, how can Blue Zones enhance your efforts? And I think it took Vincenzo a few days to kind of think about it, right? How can Blue Zones enhance your efforts? So I guess I'll just talk about, what we did, and I'm happy to come back, in a few months and talk about, sort of what we did. But what we ended up doing was, prior to the construction, we actually had a group of staff and volunteers go out very early in the morning, do traffic counts, and then we went back later that day and did traffic counts again in the afternoon to kind of just see what the data shows, right? Sometimes pedestrian counters aren't super accurate. So, we staffed up and did some counts. And one of the things that I said to Vincenzo is, in order for this project to truly be successful, people need to know what's coming, right? People need to, we need to do the education, and it can't just be a Facebook post. We need to meet people where they are. So Blue Zones Project was happy to take lead on the education piece, the community engagement. We designed some door hangers, and we got staff and volunteers to go door to door to deliver door hangers. Vincenzo and I were knocking on doors and just talking to residents. We delivered over 750 door hangers to the residents of the West Marysville neighborhood. And I would just say, from the people that we spoke to, people were happy. They were thankful that the city was taking action and really just trying to address that cut through traffic. One of the persons that I spoke to before we even started doing this was Kim. We went on a walk just talking about what was happening. So I guess in terms of next steps, I know that phase one was done. People are getting used to it. There's going to be other phases coming. But one of the things that we told residents was, we're going to come back, because we will know if this was successful if, one, we reduce traffic speeds, the amount of cars are reduced, and then also if residents truly feel safer. So Blue Zones is going to be out there again with the city of Marysville, trying to get feedback, right? How do people feel? Did it actually make you want to go out to walk, bike, and, just in general feel safer? So those are the ways that Blue Zones supported the city. We're thankful that the city allowed us to partner with them. And I think just, when we do community engagement work, and at the end of the day, it helps the city in the future securing grant dollars to hopefully do this permanent, right? So just wanted to say that. And the other thing that I will say, I put flyers in front of your, on your seating areas. So again, we're partnering with the city of Marysville and many other organizations in the community to do a community bike cruise and bike rodeo. So it's on Thursday, May 23rd. We're very grateful. Yes, thank you. And I left some flyers outside. We started marketing it already. Thankful for Denise on Thursdays on 3rd, who allowed us to use some of that space. Thankful to Police Chief Chris Sachs for helping us close down the streets. Vincenzo as well, great partner. So we're going to create an environment, hopefully bring more people to the market, to allow people to just ride their bikes around historic downtown Marysville. We're teaming up with the county as well, who's going to be providing bike education, right? How can kids learn how to safely ride their bikes using hand signals, coming to a stop? There's going to be free helmet fittings, and people that don't have helmets, kids, will be able to walk away with the helmet at no cost. And then just in general, creating a good environment for people to come out and bike. So with that, you'll notice on the flyer that there's a section for judging. So we're encouraging people to decorate their bikes, come out, win prizes. Mr. Mayor, I'm looking at you. I would love for you to be a judge if you're able to, as well as some of you who are here as well. So
I can handle that. Come on.
But anyways, I probably went over my time, but just to close, grateful for the partnership with the city of Marysville, and just looking forward to continuing the partnership. So thank you.
We're so fortunate to have you and your whole Blue Zone team involved. Thank you. Thank you very much. Madam Clerk.
No further speakers, Mayor.
Thank you, ma'am. Those were great speakers. Okay, let me find my proper spot. We're now at the consent calendar. All matters on the consent agenda are considered routine and are therefore approved by one motion unless a council member or the city manager first requests that a matter be removed from the consent agenda for separate discussion and action. What is the will of the council?
Move to approve.
We have a motion to approve
I'll second.
and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Madam Clerk, that was unanimous. Okay, we now move to a public hearing. All matters in this section of the agenda are formal. Actually, there's one formal public hearing and will be acted on individually. Members of the public may request to speak when called upon for public comment. As before, if you're here and you'd like to comment, speaker's card, if you're online, raise your hand. And if you have anything, any documentation you'd like to distribute to the council, please mail it to City Clerk, 526 East Street, Marysville, 95901. Madam Clerk, we will move forward now. The item up for public hearing is to update Marysville Municipal Code Chapter 11.04.020, required construction or reconstruction of curb, gutter, sidewalk, and street sections. Recommendation is to pass a motion to, one, introduce an appropriately numbered ordinance to revise the Marysville Municipal Code, section previously referenced, for first reading, and two, set May 21st, 2024 for second reading and consideration for adoption, and three, waive the first and second reading of the ordinance authorizing the changes to the referenced Marysville City Code. Mr. Vincenzo, you are presenting this matter, sir.
Great. Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, City Council. Vincenzo Carrazza, Public Works Director. Tonight's item is to seek council approval for the aforementioned three items. So this is an update to our municipal code section that discusses basically required off-site improvements whenever property is developed. It hasn't been updated since 1982, but recently we've had questions about the requirements. Specifically, one, what does pave out mean and what extent is the paving requirement? Two, does this section of the code apply to all types of developments? Three is, what do we do about small pavement sections? So to address these questions, we took inspiration from Yuba County and other cities and came up with the language that's before you in the ordinance. So it clears up four items. One is for new construction that requires a building permit. Paving will be across their frontage, and we put the word to the center line of the streets, or you pay an in lieu fee. So there's an option now based on staff discretion that you can pay an in lieu fee, but the language clearly states to the center line of the roadway. And number two, for renovation of existing buildings, there's a requirement of it kicks in for any renovations of $25,000 or more. Previously, it was a 25% threshold of assessed value. It's kind of hard to figure out, but right now it's a hard number of 25,000. Or you pay an in lieu fee based on staff discretion. And then three is we exempt single-family home developments on existing lots. And number four is for large-size properties. It was kind of unclear in the current code, but we defined the new code as over 5 acres, where less than half of the property is being developed. So we're not requiring you to do the whole frontage improvement on your huge giant lot, but just the part that you're developing. So those are the offsite improvements. They can be reduced based on your frontage improvements. So with that, I'll open up for any questions on this item and public hearing.
In just a moment. Now we strike the gavel. We are now open for public hearing. Do we have public comment on this matter?
We do. Thank you, Mayor. Our first speaker will be Kelly Rich Creek.
And welcome again.
Hi. Yes, I'm Kelly Rich Creek, which she said. I think this is a great course. It's always good to clear up code and make it more understandable. So thanks. Where did you go? Thank you for doing it. Thank you for that. I just had one item on it, number 3, when it mentions single family residents. Since we really want to encourage more housing, right, in Marysville, we need more housing. I would ask that you extend that not just to single family residents, but duplexes up to 4plexes right in that area. We want to encourage that. And so if someone's thinking about doing that and they don't want to do it because of that extra cost of doing that pavement. Also, with that, they're not going to be as much on the streets. It's not going to be as much damaging to the streets as it would for a bigger development. So I think that along with single family, we want to encourage duplexes up to 4plexes, you know, which would include triplexes, which are 3, right? So your wording could be single family duplexes, or you could say up to 4plex and keep it simple. So that's my feedback, just to encourage more housing in Marysville. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker will be Michael Lee.
Well, you can come up together if you want. Oh, we're not, don't worry about the 3-minute thing. This is important.
I'm Ryan Lee, and so that whole thing with the codes, we're the ones that brought it up about
I appreciate that.
Right, about the code being really unclear. And we're just building a small duplex over here in Marysville on I Street, and we're being required to repave the entire frontage of our alleyway. It's maybe like $100,000 project we're doing. And we're at $10,000-$12,000 in just paving costs to repave the roads that we want to do. And when we look at the code, we were reading it, and nowhere. You want to read the code for them? Well, I'm sure they know the code, what the code says.
It's free for everybody for the public.
But I don't know right here. I gotta find my paper. So it basically says that all street work shall be provided, for sidewalks, curbs, gutters, pave out, shall be provided along all street frontages. And when I look up the definition of a street frontage, definition of street frontage is not in the street. A frontage is the property that's next to the street, essentially where the sidewalk, curbs, and gutters go. It's not street, it's next to it. That's what a frontage stands for. Like, when you say river frontage property, doesn't mean I own the river. I own the property up to the river, along the river.
Now, pardon me, I want to understand how you got captured by this. Is it because of the amount of work they're doing on the house relative to the value?
Yeah.
Just
because it's a new build, yeah, and I believe we got captured by it because it was a 25% rule. We own it there. We have another. It's a property that has a 1 duplex on it. We're building another one, so we want to build another new duplex. And so somehow we got captured by. I don't really know how. And so we've been talking to some of the council members trying to figure out what we can do about this. And we just it's not what we see. Why?
Tell me what are you doing to the house?
We're just building a new duplex. We're building a small set. Total 1,500 square foot duplex, 2 750 square foot units. That's all we're building. So
it's a blank lot right now.
No, it's not. It already has 1 duplex on the front, and we're building on the back side another duplex. So, but the other duplex was built 25 years ago.
Okay, I get it. I get it.
So, and we had a meeting with Jim Shad and Paul Richardson. We talked about it, and we didn't really get anywhere. And Jim had said, hey, if I can get this code passed before. If I can get this passed before, then you guys are gonna have to do it anyways. And we're like, well, we submitted our permits, in 2023. So I don't think we should be held to any new codes that are passed right now when our permits were submitted for 2023. And I'm trying to think of where I was going because I didn't know. They told us they would let us know when this was gonna happen. We didn't. Nobody let us know when we were supposed to come in. We just saw it on the calendar today, so we came over. And
So you got a building permit 2 years ago, or a year ago?
a year ago, yeah. Okay.
We applied for, we can't get a building permit because until we pave our road, so until we repave.
So the law was in place when you applied for your
No,
building?
no, we don't think it's in this code. That's why they're changing it and saying paved at the center line.
Oh.
That's
okay.
why they're changing it. So when we did it, that's the whole reason it's being changed, because we're like, it's unclear. It's not in there.
Okay, listen.
And so, and when they talk about definition of pave outs, well, if you read there about sidewalks, curbs, and gutters, it says every person who installs a sidewalk, curb, and gutter they also shall get a pave out permit too. So are you telling me that every person that installs sidewalks and gutters has to pave the entire street too? They don't, because a pave out is not paving the entire street. A pave out is actually, when you cut into this and make a sidewalk, you have to flatten that line between the sidewalk and the street. You don't have to repave the whole road. You're just paving out that little bit of area to make sure you have a nice smooth transition between the two. And so when they say the definition of pave out is to pave the entire street, it's not. It's not in there. There's no mention of paving the entire street to the center line. And if you look at Yuba City, any other code, there says, hey, you have to pave to the center line of the street. Well, in Marysville, that's not in there. So we're like, why are we being held to this, this ordinance being put on us when it's not even in the municipal code as it is now?
Why don't you read the municipal code now? So it makes it nice and clear for everybody.
Let me find it.
And then read the definition of the two words that are specifically in there.
I gotta find it now. I don't know if I have it. So that's kind of where I'm just trying to think. Oh, here it is. Okay, I got it. So it says all street work, including curbs, sidewalk, pave out, drainage improvements, and driveway approaches shall be provided along all street frontages of property and all necessary easements dedicated for such purposes. So when we asked them where they get the power to have us do this, that's what they pointed. They highlighted it and sent it to me in this page right here. And I'm just saying, when I read that, I don't see any mention of paving the street to the center line. I see all street frontages, and I looked up the definition of street frontage.
I'll have to read the definition of frontage, just so everybody knows.
A piece of land that lies adjacent as to a street or ocean, the land between the front of a street, of the front of a building and a street. So it's not the street, it's not the front of the building, it's the land between the street and the front of the building. So where you put the sidewalks, curbs, and the gutters, it's on my property, but it's not on the street. So that's the definition of street frontage. So if I'm required to do work on the street frontage, I'm not required to do work on the street. The frontage is up to the street, but not in the street.
Very quickly, was council involved in this? Were you involved in this?
Brant in my office was, and I've spoken to Brant about this. But Mr. Shaw.
On that and that, unless we want to have them finish speaking.
No, finish, but I'm not blowing you off or anything. Yeah. I'm very keen on Kelly's suggestion. We need to do all we can to encourage development.
We wanted to develop, and now it's
you're heroes in my book, but I've tried. I want to understand some other things where we've had people do this kind of work on large projects. This is going to require some discussion.
Right.
I think we
understand
where you're coming from.
Bring it up because I didn't know if it was the proper time, but I didn't want to lose my opportunity to do it before, all this was passed, because we didn't want to, get left in the dust on this.
We were told that basically they're going to pass it that way. We're stuck. Too bad.
We can't do anything about it.
Okay. Why don't you relax here for a little bit and let us continue to discuss this, okay? Thank you. Is that okay? Our real estate expert says okay. Okay, first of all, do we have any other public comment on this?
Brian, were you considering your time?
Your time is reserved. We'll be able to get back to you.
And no further speakers.
No further. The public comment. We'll give you another shot at this. I want to follow the protocols for a public hearing. We've got the public comment. I'm going to close public hearing for public comment, but reserve time for you as necessary, okay? Close. Now, I'd like to hear from Jim. You had some things you were sharing and you wanted to share, and
Yes.
I want to
So
understand this.
when I was first made aware of the matter, I did speak to one of the gentlemen on the phone and had a good conversation about what the current ordinance states. My interpretation of when it says all street work, including curbs, gutters, sidewalks, pave outs, drainage improvements, when it says all street work, the thought process is it would include the street, the paving itself. So that was my initial take on it. After reading through the ordinance and looking at the definitions of those items, I spent quite a bit of time looking at other municipal codes and other industry standards that would indicate that pave out means whatever pavement is required to do the street. I will say that the ordinance could be clearer, but the intention, my opinion, is that the pave out meant, and all street work meant, some portion of the street at least. So I spoke with the gentleman, and my recollection is a little different. I indicated that I would agree to disagree with them, and my interpretation was this. I didn't say we would be passing the ordinance and they'd have to live with it anyway. From my perspective, the ordinance as it stands requires the paving. I also, upon their request, asked our attorney to weigh in, not Nicole, but Mr. Bordson. And I gave him zero information on the background of this and asked him how he would interpret the ordinance. He did come back to me, and I think he communicated to Nicole, and I'll let attorney speak to how the interpretation they saw from a legal standpoint was.
The city attorney's office felt that the ordinance was somewhat ambiguous, but in his opinion, it was the same as Mr. Shad, that the improvements would be made, including the pave out. So in order to resolve the ambiguity and clarify it, that's my understanding as what was the inception of moving forward with this cleanup ordinance, so to speak, to make sure that it's more clear moving forward. But under his immediate opinion of the ordinance, the improvements would in fact need to be made because it is ambiguous, but he believes that it still qualifies.
If fellow members of the council indulge me, I wanted to ask a couple more questions. Now, per an ordinance?
We use the same ordinance, but they required an encroachment permit. And through that encroachment permit, we required them to pave sections.
So that was the difference, was encroachment permit.
With the Covalot School, because they are a separate jurisdiction, their actual development is governed by the state. We don't have say in their development itself, but we have say in the street encroachment.
Now, what about the new apartments on Ramirez, 13th and 14th?
That was a condition of their development.
That was made a condition. It was not based on this code.
It was based on this.
It was a condition of the development, so it didn't matter if it was based on.
And we similarly conditioned this project as well.
Sir, make it quick. I'm in the flow here.
What about the straw building?
Right.
In Marysville?
What building?
Oh, we're the first ones of the residential building that I can think of.
Ryan, go to the mic, please.
Yeah, to the mic so we have some record of what you're saying.
Yeah, so, as far as I've seen, there's never been residential that I've seen to do it. The ones on the list that are written on the agenda are in the future trying to be put in there. And, if you go to the straw building that was built, I'm trying to think of the street, but kind of over by Taco Bell, maybe by your house, there's that one intersection by the park. They built that little straw building. They developed their entire property, right? They did not repave their alley, which they had to dig into and still didn't repave it. But we're not doing any street work. We're not messing with the street. Our driveway is
Understand.
already going in there.
Your message is clear.
And
L-
they
let
didn't
us-
have to do it.
Let us continue, please. Thank you.
I'll just be transparent here, not that I'm not typically, but in this discussion and process of looking at who was required and who was not, the bottom line is that since our new public works director started, we have started enforcing an ordinance that may not have been enforced in the past. In that time frame, Mr. Carraza had just started when the straw house was built or was permitted. And so he was not involved in the process at that point. He later found that out when they were asking for an encroachment permit to do the sewer. And at that point, it was really too late to require them to pave the road. He made a decision not to do that. But since then, every project has been consistently enforced as far as the ordinance.
No, I get that. And I'll just, and we never cross swords. So if we have a difference of opinion, it's just difference of opinion and it's friendly. Fact of non-enforcement in the past coupled with ambiguity is concerning. On top of that, I'm very moved by Ms. Ridge Creek's comments on the need for housing, and there's certainly going to be instances where major projects we want to enforce this. And I'm imagining someone doing a project on a corner. They're going to get a double shot, right? They're going to get a double shot. It's just going to be very expensive, and you're going to have this patchwork done. And my own thoughts, and I know other folks will have thoughts on this. Perhaps we table this and allow council. No, maybe we can iron it out right now. It would have to be an amendment if it's going to be changed. But I'm very partial to the need for housing. This being a burden on creating additional housing, and 2 units, if there's 2 units or fewer or 3 units, whatever the number should be, I think that should be encouraged. And I know that when Mr. Flores is out doing, trying to create development in the city, he is very proud to say we have no impact fees. And this is an impact fee of a sort. And so I'm concerned about this. Councilman Belton, did you have something to offer?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I mean, I think I want to look at this, and I understand the ambiguity in the language. I understand where the Lees are coming from on their interpretation. I also understand where staff is coming from. And we have a duty as the council to have clear and concise policy in our city. And if there's reasonable doubt in how something's interpreted, it's our job to clean that up. In doing that, I've got a couple of comments to make in how we move forward. And I think that we can move this along to a second reading. This is a first reading on on an ordinance change. And I think we can give some instruction to a second reading with some modifications. I'm also in agreement with Ms. Ridge Creek's suggestion that we ought to consider, not a 36-unit apartment complex. That has a very much different impact on streets than a duplex or a triplex or even a fourplex. I think that there's a reasonable number that we can utilize in that. And I think that it's important that we take that into account, because I think we're all in agreement. We've been in agreement that encouraging folks to build out additional units in town is something that's been in our purview, at least since I've been on this council. And I don't want to discourage folks from doing that. The other thing is section number 3 in the first reading, which is the retroactivity. And it says the provisions of this ordinance shall apply retroactively to all projects and developments for which any approval was pending or for which construction had yet to commence as of the date of the introduction of this ordinance. That would make it today. So I don't believe that that's appropriate if we've got ambiguity and we've got a long track record of sometimes applying an ordinance or sometimes not applying an ordinance. I believe that it should go into effect when the ordinance is actually voted on by the council and not be retroactive, because then how far back does it go retroactive? If there's a permit that was applied for in a previous year, then it needs to be acknowledged for the way that it was in when that permit was applied for. And so I would make those two suggestions as we move to a second reading, that we either that we remove the retroactivity part and that we move this into either a triplex or a fourplex, scenario, that anything with 3 or 4 units doesn't comply to this, not just the single family.
And so therefore you would recommend those changes to the suggested motion.
Correct.
Any further discussion? Mr. Vice Mayor.
I've argued this with the city before the leads have ever come into this, or most of were here, because I am a builder and ran into some of this before. I think it's just inappropriate that the city asks the builders to do these pave outs on single families. Excuse me, let me rephrase that.
I think they're exempted anyway.
Let me rephrase that. That paving out to the center of the street. I would, when I read it, I agree. A pave out is making sure that your gutter ties into the asphalt. I just don't think it's appropriate for the city to be asking the builders to repave the roads for us because of where we're at now. Commercial ones cutting into the street, if you're cutting into the street, those things, I can understand that. The other thing,
when you say commercial, pardon me, you mean larger projects above 4 units?
Above 4 units, yeah. And with, I think the part in here in the new one that bothers me is the in lieu of, and some of our alleys are so bad, we're going to say, we want you to put up X amount of dollars in lieu of you doing the pavement. When does your street ever get done? And according to this, it says it goes into a fund, and basically the paving, that fund can be used anywhere, not specifically on your own project. So I don't get this in lieu of, unless something's going to happen with that street. But my bottom line for I ran into this with sidewalks years ago in West Marysville. And it was the same thing. It was, who's the sidewalk belong to? Who's the trees that broke it all up belong to? And at that time, it was determined from the curb in was the homeowners, and from the curb out was the cities. And I still feel that's the appropriate way for it. So I just, the in lieu of bothers me on the new one. And the requirement, which in certain size projects, it could push them right out of being, financially capable of doing some of them. So that's just where I stand. I think I don't think we should be asking to have them done on a single family. Unless the street is cut into, then I can get that. but I don't understand the in lieu of, because if I go out and do that project, I may never see the street done in front of me or behind me, yet I've paid money in lieu of.
So we have your suggested modification and your suggested modification.
Well, at least a reconsideration on how that would be handled. I mean,
Putting it off
right,
to a
it
second
says
reading.
right here that the money's gonna go into an account. Where is it at? To be deposited in the city fund account and used only for street paving projects. Doesn't mean that street paving in front of your house, or it happens to be in these gentlemen's in the alley. It could never get done, but yet you paid for it.
This is, not everything's easy to deal with. This is one of those challenges. We're working our way through it.
Well, I don't want to use the Lees only as an example because they are one situation, but I'm looking at this as a whole.
Oh, exactly.
For me, this is as a whole. I just can't understand that concept, paying for something you may never get.
Thank you. Any comments, other comments? Councilman Hudson.
So with respect to what Mr. Butterfgoli shared, I do appreciate not knowing exactly where the in lieu of monies may go. But I would lean mostly towards Councilman Belza's suggestion, and the fact is that I'm not keen of item number 3 in there for anything that was done before. I don't like the retroactive aspect of it, but I also, in truth, I have no idea where this project is. I've gleaned that it's obviously on one of our alley streets. I mean, I did, I talked to one of the Lees earlier this week, and they shared this with me, but I didn't get all the specifics of what's going on or the size of the project or anything of that sort. So I'm getting more information tonight on the whole thing. As it sounds, they're not even cutting into the street. Now, I do know that we changed ordinances a couple years ago, and this might muddle the whole situation, that if they have to cut into the street on a new construction project, it's already a $10,000 permit fee to cut into the sewer. If they were messing with the sewer and cutting the road open, all right, I might lean that way. But on this particular project, it sounds as though they're not touching the road. So I don't want to get too much more into my personal opinion on it. I appreciate exactly what Councilman Belza presented. I support that.
No, I'm not going to comment at this time. I'm right behind Councilman Belza. I'm having a difficulty understanding exactly what it is that we are going to do today. And so I'm just going to hold any comment at this moment.
I have a suggestion. We've had thoughtful input from the public and from Councilman Belza and our Vice Mayor. Perhaps this is the first time the council has heard this. It's all fresh, and God bless staff. You know, they're coming up with a solution and presenting a possible solution. And this is a matter of first impression for the council. My suggestion would be that we have an ad hoc for 2 weeks committee, Councilman Belza and our Vice Mayor, to work with staff in formulating an appropriately worded amendment in line with the kind of thinking. I don't think there's any, I'm hearing no objections to your thinking and to your thinking.
I don't know that it's a matter of the wording. I think it's a matter of.
Oh, it's not just wording. I think it's substance.
Okay.
No, there's substantive issues here. So if the two of you would be willing to get together with city staff and work something out, then we could have at the second reading 2 weeks from now, a fresh look. Is that fine with everybody?
I just had.
Sure.
So that when we tackle this, we can tackle the right thing here. It sounds like there's a desire to set a point in time as to when this would go into effect. And I think we're going to have to address not just the point of time, but what phase of approval the project's in. Whether that be entitlements, permitting, whatever. And then what size of number of units we're requiring it on. And I'm, more than happy to address it based on the ad hoc committee, and it would be the will of the council. The bottom line is developers don't have an infinite amount of money, but the city doesn't either. So what's a balance that would work to make sure that not only are our roads in good shape, but when we increase occupancy, they have a satisfactory road to get in and out of their property on. So
let me ask council on how to deal with this now. We want to, are we tabling this or what are we doing?
I think my opinion is to not take an action on it tonight and have the ad hoc committee work with staff and come up with a new ordinance that everybody is satisfied with and bring it for a new first reading. I think there's too many changes at this point that would be considered material. Plus, we don't even know as we sit here what those changes exactly are going to look like.
And everybody's agreeable to that?
Can I make one more?
Yes.
If our council members that would be on this ad hoc committee would agree, perhaps we should tackle the tree and sidewalk ordinances as well. Okay.
We have a solution then? We don't have to take any formal action?
That's correct. If there's no action on it, there's not a motion, there's nothing being approved. You don't have to table it because
No,
then that has
and-
other
and
special
I hope the
rules.
public understands what we're doing here. Okay. Okay.
Through the
thank you.
chair. Do we have to formally vote to create the ad hoc committee or? is
No,
it
I
just
can
spoken
point.
into? Okay.
To the chair.
Sure.
So at this point, and part of the discussion here is not going back being retroactive. For the leads that come in and have spoke, where does that leave us?
Oh, no, it's going to be a fresh matter. We're taking into consideration all the inputs that we heard today.
Okay.
And you're gonna take those and work with city staff and come up with something. And
Sorry, I think maybe what Vice Mayor is concerned about is delaying a project.
Yeah.
Yeah,
is
so
2 weeks, is 2 weeks the end of the world for y'all? Well, it's as council suggested, and I agree totally with her. It's complex enough. I mean, the outcome that's being suggested, or at least between the lines are considered, is complex enough to where it's going to take those 2 weeks. And again, thank you to the public comments on this. They were very helpful, and the entire council, and we can move forward here.
I'd like to say one
Chief
thing.
has to leave. See you. Thank you,
Oh, yeah, my
Chief.
chief sec. Wow. One thing I'd like to mention regarding, I want to thank you for your interest and commitment to developing in the city of Marysville. And of course, it's going to be a challenge. So just don't give up. Mike, sorry I brought it up, but
I lived here my whole life and I want to see Marysville get better. Obviously, I want to make some money at the same time. I can't do it. I'm not rich. I can't just make Marysville better because I want to. And that's it. Like my projects have to make sense at the end of the day. Right. So that's why I'm here. And I got 3 projects. And when I started fighting this in the beginning, what I was told is, why don't you get rid of those 2 projects? Because if you can't afford to do it because of the roadway, that was what I was told. So that's why I'm here, and that's why it hurts me.
Well, there's history to solving any problem. That's just part of the history.
Yeah.
That's just part of the history.
And I
We're
appreciate
gonna come up with something different, and you'll be here to be able to comment on it.
Thank you. I appreciate all you guys.
Thank you, and thank you again, Kelly. Okay. With that done, we move to committee reports and comments. Councilman Gilchrist, why don't you go first?
How are you? You want to hear some homeless numbers, ladies and gentlemen? Our Sutter Yuba Homeless Coalition numbers. 250 residentially challenged individuals made it through the system, came through the system in the month of April. 250 individuals came in.
What's coming through the system?
Coming through the system means they asked for help. They utilized the Sutter Yuba Homeless Coalition's broad range of services and self-reported their needs. Of the 250 in the month of April in the Yuba-Sutter area these are new people. These are not returning people. These are new people with kids, 4 in Sutter County, 23 in Yuba County. Without kids, 17 in Sutter County and 26 in Yuba County. The demographics of these people, the large majority is in between 18 to 54. 42% of them are behavioral mental health issues, and 22% is substance abuse. Of these 250 people, only 3% were veterans. And so this is actually lower than last month. I just wanted you guys to know. And there could be so many reasons for this. It could be better weather. We don't know, but we do get these numbers each month, so we can understand what the Sutter Yuba Homeless Coalition is all about and where our money is going.
Very important to follow this. Thank you.
You're welcome. That's all I have.
Councilman Hudson.
I missed our last meeting beginning of April, and because I was on the Beale Military Liaison Council visiting San Antonio, Texas Air Force Base, and it was a great experience to represent the city as a civic leader and be able to talk to a couple 2-star generals and find out what they're doing with their community and their military personnel on that base. And just the insight that came back with the committee was just awesome. And I'm looking forward to seeing how the actual true members of the BMLC implement these things, as I was just a civic leader. But they are all about trying to create a good community relationship with the Air Force folk that are out there. And I think that's highly important because it's big about our history. Beale Air Force Base is huge in our area, and they are kind of migrating back in this area. They're not having a lot to do personally, or places to stay, or with the housing element and everything like that. So I thought it was a great experience, and was proud to represent Marysville. They are going to have a golf tournament coming up for a fundraiser for BMLC in August. So yeah, sorry that I did not go to cap with you guys that went there. It is not exactly my fave town, but I hope you guys come back with some good stuff to share with us about regional cohesion and so forth. So that's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Belsa, please.
To dovetail into Councilman Hudson's comment in regards to Beale Air Force Base, I sit on the Economic Development Corporation board and on their executive board. We were in a meeting last week, and there's a representative on that board also from Northrop Grumman who works with Beale. There's some changes coming out there. I think you're our liaison, you're our alternate. There's some changes coming out to Beale that we should probably be involved in economic development perspective. I think reaching out to Brenda Stranix and getting some detail in how we might be able to partner with some of our other areas, Yuba County, Wheatland, et cetera. It would behoove us to be involved in those conversations from the liaison perspective. So just want to pass that information on and encourage either of you to reach out and get some additional information on that. I will share, since you mentioned cap to cap, had some really good connection with Recology back there. And working in some communication with them as how they might be able to pertain in additional assistance and help with Ellis Lake redevelopment plans. So seeing how that all might come together. Outside of that, thank you, staff, and thank you everybody for everything that you're contributing. It's great to see the proclamations today in our different areas, especially for our police and our public works. We value those guys tremendously. So that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Vice Mayor.
I just want to comment on some of the traffic calming that's going on with some of the things we're doing, which I think is amazing. Probably for every complaint that I've had somebody just extremely happy with some of the things that we've been doing. I know a lot of them are experimental and I pass that out, but I don't want us to get too far into the fact that everybody's upset with this stuff, because not everybody is. So I'm really glad to see all the experimental stuff going on, and Jim for leading that along with Vincenzo. So thank you.
To the chair.
Sir.
I'm sorry, I forgot one thing. I just want to thank and I want to applaud Ben Deal's persistence on this committee. Ben and I served on the planning commission together, which I know the two of you did as well. And there were some things and discussions, and Miss Ridge Creek was on there with us as well, and historical lists and some different things that we struggled with at those times. And, you know, the pedestrian and the bicycling was one of those things that continued to come up time after time. So I applaud you for your persistence and staying after it and getting it to this point. And I want to see that move forward and become a part of our governmental community here. So thank you.
Thank you. And for me, two quick items and then one little bit longer item. Bill, at the big soiree thrown by Yuba County out at the airport recently, Colonel Church announced that they currently have approximately just shy of $2 billion in new contracts, construction contracts, development contracts going on out there. I've been wondering if Beale would survive with the U2 mission coming to an end. And it's going to survive. There's a lot going on. And I had some deep conversations with another one of the colonels at an event I was involved in out there. Second, I was having a meeting with a senior member of one of the political parties today, and she'd mentioned that there is a website or app or something for California for homeless people to decide which county they want to go to. And she said, Yuba County is #1 target for some reason. God knows why. And I don't know how true that is, but it's something I want to look into. We certainly have our share. Marysville has the bulk of it. I think it's concentrated in Marysville in both counties. 14th Street and the traffic calming. I was at the hearing yesterday on the litigation between the city of Marysville and Caltrans. I'm so appreciative of the fact that the judge showed a keen awareness of the problems affecting Marysville. And we'd had, Vice Mayor and I had participated in settlement negotiations along with City Manager Mr. Shad with the senior executives at District 3 to no avail, zero avail. And one of the points that we kept bringing up was the pressure on collateral streets, in particular cut-through streets and what have you, that are collateral to the main highways. And there's no nexus between this project and additional traffic and that. I was encouraged to think that perhaps those reviewing this at a high level in court may have a fresher look. We don't know. But these matters are important to the, I'm not going to say survive, but the attractiveness of our community and the happiness for people who live here. Tom knows about it, and others in my neighborhood and in neighborhoods in East in East Marysville, where you get the cut through traffic. It's a real burden. It's in the way of the quality of life in Marysville, and we need to do everything we can. And again, great thanks to Mr. Kratza of Public Works. He is at all of the Transportation Committee meetings I go to, and SACOG is keen on these sort of things, of making communities more walkable, more bikeable, and all of that plays to traffic calming. And hopefully we find a solution. As I mentioned earlier, every problem has a history, and we're at this stage of the history of solving this problem, or at least getting to a better place. And I'm encouraged. I put my glasses away. Madam Clerk, do we have any council correspondence?
Not for this meeting.
Oh, thank goodness. Mr. City Manager.
I've got a few things. First of all, on the traffic calming, as we mentioned, it's a pilot. And so everything that we do may not be perfect. But one person told me one time that if you don't do anything, you won't make any mistakes. Oh, there may be some mistakes, but at least we're getting forward progress.
Remember that one.
Then one of my wise Fresno City Council members once told me, this is regarding the street ordinance, told me that the process is like making sausage. It's really ugly, but it tastes good in the end. So I think the process we had tonight was making sausage, and we have a path towards that end.
And it wasn't even that, it wasn't really ugly.
Just messy, I guess.
Yeah, no.
Complex issues take a little bit more time. The other thing I want to mention, and this is based on who is still here tonight, mostly. And this next comment was our wise council member, Mr. Belza. We were at a public.
One of the wise council members.
Yes, one of the wise. We were at a public input meeting looking for solutions, and we received a lot of problems thrown our way. And the comments were, why isn't the city doing this? Why isn't the city doing that? And I still recall Councilmember Belza saying, telling a story about how he used to think that way, but at some point in time it changed to, what can I do for my community? And so what I saw tonight was several members here of our community looking to what they can do for the community, starting with Ben Deal and the BPAC, Kelly Ridge Creek, obviously interested, Eric from the Blue Zones, doing things for the community. You heard how much he helped with, he and his team helped with the traffic calming. Ricky Samayoa, Valerie Sutton, who has helped with our street lights, and a couple of people that aren't here. The Rossellini crew is another example, helping with Ellis Lake. And then last of all, I probably haven't hit all of them, but Pepe Schrader, if you've driven by the Mary Aaron Museum, significantly repaired and looking very nice. So I want to commend those people that are involved, and I appreciate all the work, that actual work towards solutions that you guys have made. The last thing I have is more for staff, and though she may not want this known, it is National or Annual Municipal Clerks Week.
Well, wait a minute, how come where's the proclamation?
I want to recognize Nicole, since clerking is one of her many roles. I also want to recognize Maggie Sanchez, who is her wingman, and the snitch who told me to recognize her. And then lastly, somebody you may not equate with this, but Ellen Culver, who does the planning, clerks the planning commission. So thank you, all municipal clerks that we have. Appreciate all the work you do. So, and that was it.
Okay, and I almost put this away. Next meeting, Tuesday, May 21st, 2024 at 6 p.m. Adjourned. Thank you all. Okay.
Yuba-Sutter.live's local government live streams are presented by Plumas Lake Self-Storage in Plumas Lake, where lifelong local residents are helping other residents keep things safe, providing indoor storage units, outdoor RV and vehicle parking, moving supplies, and Penske truck rentals. Details at plumaslakeselfstorage.com.
Hi, I'm Neil Goforth, Comfort Keepers of Yuba, Sutter, and Nevada counties. Caring for elders or even yourself has challenges. Comfort Keepers of Yuba, Sutter, and Nevada counties can help you address today's issues and plan for tomorrow with in-home and specialized care for you or your family members. Call us at 530-749-8800. Comfort Keepers of Yuba, Sutter, and Nevada counties.